Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, the irony of being able to have the right to be forgotten is exactly what unlocks the very harms that side government is trying to sidestep. Because if you create this regulatory body or this ability to be able to remove things from the internet, in and of itself lull you towards a false sense of security, wherein in reality, people become more careless and the harms that they're worried about, like character assassination and people getting embarrassed and stuff, come to fruition more at a point in which you set a very dangerous precedent in society that pushes people not to take their digital footprint seriously because you now create and institutionalize a mechanism to be able to put back that thing in the sand and take away the footprint. We believe in a self-correcting mechanism, which is exactly the human dignity point that they mentioned. I'm pretty sure all of us have skeletons in the closet or some embarrassing shit that we're worried about. And last time I checked, people don't go like harvesting other people's trash and stuff precisely because they themselves also have something to be worried about. And I understand that happens in extents, right? Some people have more embarrassing shady stuff, some people have less embarrassing shady stuff. But on average, it's sort of like mutually assured destruction, meaning everybody has some nene picture, some cringe picture of them wearing bases where they look completely different than where they are now, which is exactly what make it valuable in and of itself. Meaning, I flip what they're talking about dignity, and I say that human dignity comes at the consequence of being able to truly appreciate and understand yourself and other people for their full range of who they truly are, from the best of the best and the sexiest and the nicest to the most uncomfortable past sides of them, because we understand that human beings and the idea of dignity is something that changes and transcends throughout time. What is my extension? My extension is talking about how acknowledging and allowing this right sets a very dangerous precedent that legitimizes and institutionalizes selfish and hedonistic behavior, a direct clash to what they're talking about, because I understand people might do stupid stuff. We're gonna say people end up doing more stupid stuff. We think this is going to enable particular behavior, and what is the big harm here? The harm is that we institutionalize a sort of modern day or cyber tragedy of the commons at the point in which you undermine existing societal structures that actually prevent people from actually being able to evolve. Meaning, they made this debate kind of small. Oh, it's about data and protecting against embarrassing stuff. We're going to push that particular right, and we're going to talk about the extent of that right because this is a value judgment. And what we're going to say is that the extent of you wanting to be forgotten in and of itself enables selfish behavior, and the harm is that you impede or you undermine all of the very societal infrastructures that actually preserve life, preserve dignity, and preserve society. This looks like things like books and institutions like schools, charities, etc., in order to be able to preserve the information that we have. Sure, what they're trying to say is, at best, they're trying to remove embarrassing, cringy stuff that you didn't consent to. But we think the right to be forgotten goes past that, wherein you actually try and not just cherry pick the good, but also be able to deal with the bad. Which is why I don't think that what they're saying is enough to outweigh what Matthew told you, wherein he talked about how those who were rich and politically charged elites are likely able to use that to rewrite and change history. Some sort of cyber historical revisionism wherein they're able to use what they want and control those particular narratives. What am I trying to say? I'm saying that when you believe in this kind of thing and you perpetuate this ability to be forgotten, sure, it can start off on that council by talking about small kinds of things. But those people in power who may have nefarious intentions or ignorance can use and charge that malevolence in a way to be able to shape the best parts of their persona in order to cleanse people's perceptions of what they truly might be able to do. We think the weighing of that harm is that the upside you get when you remove embarrassing stuff that you don't consent to leads to many potential harms that those people in power can use to oppress people. But before that, POI, yes.
Just to be clear, are you saying that people need to suffer public consequences even years later just to prove that they have broken?
Yeah, absolutely, because that's part of life, right? Meaning, if you want to really exercise dignity and agency, you need to understand that it continues to move forward. Meaning, it's not about cleansing and erasing it, but being able to deal with those realities. That's called maturity and growing up. The second thing I have to also say is that a lot of the qualms that they have with the law and all of these things can actually be solved by existing laws and things, such as A, the freedom of information right and the laws governing that. B, data privacy laws. C, anti-cybercrime laws. Meaning, I get their intent, which limited the debate because the extent of what we're trying to say with the right to be forgotten expands past that. Meaning, the delta you get on their side can be solved already in status quo, absent the ability to push for this right more. The third thing I have to say is that when you allow people to undo or control Z particular facets of their life, is exactly what pushes these particular people to be less responsible and just do things willy-nilly. Meaning, the change that they want, which is trying to preserve and protect the autonomy and dignity of people, contradict and harm itself in the long run, wherein on average, if you allow this to happen long enough, people in power who Matthew mentioned, who have power, means, and capacity, are likely to use that to control things in history and their way, that as a consequence harm on average the average individual, which is why we think it's a terrible idea to be forgotten. Deal with the present, move forward to the future. Very proud to stand on side Neg. Thanks.